Welcome to Surviving Youth Sports Podcast, where we dive into real stories behind the wins, the losses, and the lessons that come with raising, coaching, and being young athletes. I'm your host, Rhett Parker, lifelong coach, dad, and believer that sports are about far more than just the scoreboard. Each week, we explore honest perspectives, real experiences, and the moments that shape who we become through the game. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share the show with someone who needs to hear it. Now let's get into it. Hello, and I'm Rhett Parker. Once again, we are on the Surviving Youth Sports Podcast. And today we have Angie Mentink, who, I kind of understand what you do, but it's a lot. Your career is, I would love to learn a little bit more about it, because our relationship is really not Angie Mentink, reporter or broadcaster. It's Angie Mentink, here's your two sons that play baseball that are great kids. So welcome to the show.
No, I know that's actually my greatest accomplishment. And when people are like, "Oh my gosh, you have such great kids," I'm like, "Thanks. I'll tell my husband," because I give him the credit. If I was like raising them more, they'd be disciplined and structured, and they get 8 million things done in a day. And instead, they're just like amazing human beings and really kind. As you know, they're just, I joke about my oldest son, Jackson, is like basically going through life with jazz hands. He's never met a stranger or somebody he doesn't like. But as far as, what I do, for a living, yes, it's very different than my role as mom and coach and everything to the kids. But it sure is nice when I am able to break away, especially during the baseball season, because the MLB season doesn't give me a whole lot of time away to be able to watch them play.
Right. And it's interesting you brought up Jax, because there's Jax who's in college now, and then there's Chase who's in high school. And, I'm running through it a little bit with my kids too. Here's Jax, big giant. He's huge, strong, left-handed hitting, catcher, outfielder, right here, could deadlift Lord knows how much. And then, you have Chase, who's, like a point guard, shooting guard in basketball, who's very slim, super fast, slaps the ball around the field, runs around the field, and talks trash. God, I feel like I'm back in when I was in high school. I'm like, I can't let this kid know that that's really funny. But man, that was hilarious. Like, that was hilarious. And they're really good kids, but they're so different. They are so different.
Yeah,
And
you have to celebrate that. You know what I mean? As a parent, same mom, same dad, but yeah, they could not be more different.
and I think as a parent, did you find yourself, because obviously, and your husband, coaches basketball. So, there's just another coach, another person that played, in the family. You can't treat them the same. Like when
No,
they were
yeah,
younger, like talk about that a little bit. Like how do you go through that of like, you just can't take one path with multiple kids?
for sure. Jackson, and you recognize it as well, the kind of coaches that you want them to play for. Because like you mentioned Jackson, and this is actually, I'm going somewhere else instead of sports. I'm going to go to drums because he's a drummer as well. And I remember like the drum teacher called me. He's like, "I'm just letting you know, like Jackson hasn't been doing his practice, and I lit him up like from one side and down the other, and I'm just warning you, he might be a little bit, upset." And so I was like, "Hey, buddy," gets in the car. I'm like, "How'd it go?" He goes, "Great, great." Like, Jackson, you could get this close as a coach and scream at him and spit at him. Augie Garrido the heck out of him. And he'd be like, "All right," you know what I'm saying? Like, it just water off a duck's back. Whereas like Chase is one of those guys, like, that he's not going to respond to that. It's not like he can't play for that, but he's just kind of like, "What are you doing?" Because as you said, that kid is so stinking smart. Like when Chase was 5, we were like, we are so screwed in when this kid gets to high school. He'll be in there changing his grades and we'll have no idea. He's a super smart, sharp, witty, like super quick kid. But they're just so different. And they respond to different coaches in different ways. And so like For Jackson, we were like, yeah, discipline, structure, grind him
Yes.
down, yell at him. Like
Yeah.
Chase, it's like cerebral. We want somebody who is really good who understands the game, knows the game, because he's playing all the time, 3D chess. So, yeah, I mean, as a coach and a parent, you have to find the right fit for your different personalities of your kids, like you said, because they're so different.
And you terrified me because my 6 year old, the first grade teacher, when we did the parent teacher thing in the fall, was like, your son like gives me the look like someone's doing something wrong. And he's like, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. And the same thing, like, she's like, and I can't help but laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but he's so smart. He knows it. And I'm like, man. And then I started to have the same thoughts. Oh, huh. He's going to outsmart me. And I'm going to be exhausted by the time he's in high school, right? Because I got 3 other ones. Oh,
Yeah.
man. But you brought the coaching thing up. I coach my oldest, and it's a challenge. He doesn't. I mean, you could have some guy come in with jersey tucked into the jeans that didn't play 1 inning of baseball, and he'd probably listen to that person before me. And then you have my exactly my youngest who won't listen to anybody, even if they're right, but
Mhm.
me. And I'm like, oh, this is exhausting to jump from one team to the next because I'm like putting on a different hat. And and your husband probably could answer this better than even I could. Man, that is just it's exhausting.
No, it is tough. Jared and I have both had it because Jared has coached them, the Hubs has coached them in basketball, and then I have coached them, in baseball. And it's one of those things like I think when my husband coached Chase and they were the only kids that he made run. You know what I mean? Like and it's just like he's harder on them than he is anyone else, and it's just kind of one of those things too. It's like in baseball, like everybody would listen to me, and my kids, I'd get that look when I'd say like hustle or run or anything, and they're just like, whatever, mom. I mean, not
Yeah.
in a disrespectful way. It's just you can't take the 20 hours outside of the game and completely erase it when you start to coach. And usually they're the best ones in responding, but every once in a while you get the mom moment where and you're thinking it's probably bad if I put my kid in a headlock right now in front of all these people, so I'm just going to we're going to bring this up later.
Yeah.
We'll
And
fix it in post.
you take that breath. I mean, I got a comment from one of my sons. I won't say which one. And I was just like, deep breath. Don't get upset here. We just got to get through this. Cause I was like, man, if another kid did that to me, I'd blow up too, because it was sort of disrespectful. So we're all working towards that. But one of the things that I find difficult, and you've coached and Jared's coached, and I've said this forever to my wife, like, I just don't want there to be any expectations on them. Just because I
Mhm.
played and I coached and I did this, do you feel like, Jax and Chase ever felt like there's an expectation because you and Jared are who you guys are, and you have the jobs that you guys have?
This is where I feel like we're sort of really good tag team partners. And I have like the greatest husband in the world in the sense that he's so incredibly supportive of like my past. I absolutely make a point of not talking about back when I played. Like it's never come out of my mouth. Like I just like and I like hate on people that do it, but I'm just like the game's so much bigger, faster, smarter, better now than whenever you play,
Mm-hmm.
whoever you are. And so, like, I don't talk about what I did, but the one thing I do say to my kids is like, I had my athletic journey. I don't need to live through vicariously through you. There might be some other dads or there's some other moms or what have you that are trying to live their athletic journey that they never were able to achieve through you. I don't need you to do anything. I don't need you to play this game. I don't need you to succeed at this game. You play this game because you love this game. You know what I'm saying? I loved it, and I hope you do because I think it's great. But I do not need I really stress that, and I always have. Like, in fact, one time Jackson, this is when he was young, he said, "Do you think I'm going to play baseball in college?" And I go, "No." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, because I think because you play the drums and because you ski and because you play basketball, you do all these other things, which is the life we wanted for you,
Mhm.
And so I don't think I had anything else. Like I was so I knew that the only way I was going to get through college is if I got a scholarship to play softball. And so it was just such a motivator for me. And I don't know that you have that fuel underneath you. And then the
Mhm.
other side of that is, and I talked about the great tag team partner is having Jarrett, is he is constantly saying, like, you guys, your mother, you come from Hall of Fame blood. Your mother is, you know what I'm saying, like amazing. You are the best of mom and you are the best of dad, and that is what's in you. And, he's so incredible, of my sports journey. And he's sort of the one that, like, reminds the kids that, you've come from greatness and your greatness. So it's kind of the
And I it's so funny. I actually do the exact same thing because my wife, who's in the Hall of Fame, University of Portland, as a team, and won two national championships, Division One. When she hears this, probably gonna hate me saying all this stuff, but
it's great.
it is the reality that Jax and Chase going to take it another level. They're genetically blessed because of you and Jared. It is I mean, you're around the Mariners people all the time. It's
Mhm.
real. Like the
Yeah.
genetics are a reason, one of them, why those people are getting paid to play. And
Oh, the whole
I've
lot, like that
yeah.
is awesome that you do that, and I love that for you and your wife because it also the other thing that does, Rhett, is that I don't want to say it validates women, but what I'm saying is like it makes a woman's journey in your son's eyes valuable, and that changes the way they think about women and what women can do and not doesn't devalue, well, she played, but she's a mom, or if she played, but she's a woman. So, the fact that you are making that message happen and having it be heard from a young age is actually really important in their development and how they see women and what they value, a woman can do and what she can achieve. So that's actually really huge for more
And I tell you
reasons
what,
than just you're going to be a good athlete.
I'll tell you what, we'll take that clip, and I'll somehow my wife releases on social media. I'll make sure that I get that clip texted to her. It's going to go over well at my house. But I really appreciate that, and I do think that I work extremely hard, and I have a daughter too, and strong, independent. I mean, we are teaching her those things, and I think it's so important. And having three brothers, I mean, and by the way, sorry to my sons, she is hands down the toughest person in our household. I mean, emotionally, I mean, right now, physically, she's actually bigger than everybody, even though they're twins. But, and I love hearing you say that because I don't really look at, any accomplishment by a female athlete as being any less than a
Mm.
male
Yeah.
athlete. And you can talk about equal pay and all those things. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about, what your accomplishments are. And
Well,
everything
you,
should be like put on a pedestal
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're doing great things.
Well, I remember, I when I went into the Husky Hall of Fame, I gave this speech, and it was literally like all about my mom and how my mom had believed in me, right? And how she had, made sure it wasn't going to happen on her watch and kept me on the straight and narrow, but also just believing and the importance of, what a person will achieve when someone does believe in them. And then, I had three brothers, and my dad, it's not his fault. In the sense that he was raised in a different generation, and he had a very different idea of what a woman was capable of doing. And so, he wasn't like he was really supportive of like what my brothers were doing, but less so in regards to what I was doing. Because again, he just came from a different generation, and So I remember in the speech I said, and to all the dads out there, make sure, you bring your daughter along when you go to play catch with your son, and don't have her achieve great things in spite of you. Have them be because of you. And that was what every single television station ran. And like I had so many dads come up to me afterwards and like it really hit me and I'm gonna go play catch with my daughter, da 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 da. And I was just like, the whole speech was about my mom, and you took the one snippet, you know what I'm saying, that was about my dad. But I think it resonates with a lot of dads, and we're seeing some really cool girl dads sort of evolve, and they've really taken a big part in supporting their daughters and their athletic journeys, and I love to see that.
And right before we got on the call, I'm a partner of Softball America, and man, we're talking about the same stuff because softball. I don't know how locked into softball you are today. It's growing. It's growing, and there's fans, and the pro league is doing great. Softball's back in the Olympics in 2028, and you're seeing dads get involved. You really are. You're seeing moms get involved, and you're seeing, and this is the most important thing, and this as a coach and all this stuff. And Jared, our job as coaches, especially when they're really young, we're trying to make fans of the sport.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and that's the one of the biggest messages that parents need to come away with. And I scream this all the time. I get on my soapbox. It's like, if you really want your kid to get good at sports, you know what they need to do? They need to play it a lot and for a long time. And if you make them hate it, they're not going to play for very long. One of the biggest reasons why, these kids are dropping out and they're hating it is because, of the car ride home. And that's another lesson that I try to teach parents. Don't ask. Don't, all we ever said was like, when you're on their way out, like, do your best and have fun. Like, those are the only two things that we require of you to play sports, is do your best and have fun. And then when you come back in, realize, we're not solving world hunger here. And so if your kid wants to talk about the game, talk about the game. The only things we would say is like, I love watching you play. I love watching you play. And at some point, they may want to talk, especially as they get older, about a certain at bat. And, I think it's really important how you frame failures as well. I mean, you could be 0 for 3 in baseball and sting the ball every single time and line out to left, center, and right. And you're like, I hit the ball to all fields. I was on time. I adjusted. I had a great day. And I might not have a hit, but like, you need to praise your kids for those things and realize, as a parent, don't just focus on the outcome goals, because it's just not a way to keep your kid playing the sport. And no matter what, just be there to support them and just say, again, I love watching you. I love watching you play. So even on your kids' worst days, because one day when they're done, this is the good old days. Right now, you are in the good old days, my friend. And so when you get older and you're going to think back, this is what you're going to be thinking back to. So enjoy that journey. Enjoy watching them play, regardless of what the outcome is on one day in one game. Who cares? Support them, love them, and they'll end up playing for a really long time. And if they do, they'll probably get really good at the sport.
And that is so powerful. It's exactly what we try to preach. And I'll touch on one thing. Every kid, you talk about the car ride home. There is no absolutes in parenting for youth sports. I have twins. My daughter is a different kind of athlete. She plays on the boys' soccer team still, one of the clubs here.
That's because she's an absolute stud.
She's done. If I don't talk to her after the game, it's bad. Whether it's good or bad, she's like, I did something wrong. I have to talk to her in the car. Or I'd leave it to my wife. If my wife's there, I don't say a thing about soccer. But my son, if you say, hey, good game, even if you say good game, he's like, I did this wrong, or I did this. Or if you say bad game, I did great. I mean, it's like, all right, we'll sit in silence. Tomorrow, when he's had time to process everything, he will come talk about the game. And
Yeah.
the only
Everybody
time I've
has a
ever
different
ripped,
timeline. Sure.
100%, I've ripped him one time, and it was for one thing. I go, did you give your best effort? Because we saw him not doing it, and he didn't. And I mean, it was like 10 minutes. I'll go spend money on vacations. I'll go take my time and do something different. And other than
Yeah.
that, like, I don't care. You can play good, bad, doesn't bother me, because we played. And my wife, same thing. We played in front of thousands of people. I don't need you to be good. I want you to enjoy
Yep.
it and try hard.
Yep, exactly. And your attitude and your effort, you know what I'm saying, are those things that you can absolutely control. And I agree. I think that those are the messages that they need to hear. And also saying, like, this isn't about, I don't care how you do. I care about your effort. Like, it, to parallel those two things. And you're right. Like, every single kid is different. And one thing that we've kept as a theme, even now in college, is that nothing happens in this game that's so bad that it can't be fixed with a Dairy Queen Blizzard. So like, like
There we go.
sometimes we've even just gone like Blizzard,
Yeah.
let's go get a Blizzard because it's just it'll fix it all. So
It does. And I think you're saying the same thing. It's okay to be uncomfortable. As a parent, as a player, it's okay to fail. And it's okay to not feel comfortable about failing. And it's okay to put your arm around them when they do that or when they do something great. But I try not to talk about absolutes, but man, if you don't give effort, there's no Dairy
yeah,
Queen. Like,
yeah, no,
just because you can control it, that's the way. And your
yes,
attitude, you hit the nail on the head. And the same goes for college, because Jackson is down in Sacramento playing college baseball. If he doesn't give effort, you're not going down to see him. Like, you got better things to do, And Chase is a two-sport star at Mount Si High School in Washington State. Like, you're not going to go watch that. I won't. Like, for my kids, like, I
yeah,
just won't.
no, I think that is very true and very fair. It's good to, like I said, to have those expectations. You know what I'm saying, for your kids. Like, I love to watch you play, but I'm not going to watch, a lack of effort. And we can do a lot of different things, with money. And that's actually something, that you just brought up. And it is one thing that it makes me sad right now about the state of youth sports, is just how many kids are unfortunately getting priced out that would be playing and would be playing longer. And I just hope those parents do find like avenues for them to play, because I think it's good. I think it's good, when you have like this ridiculous phone that has so many things that, can take our attention. The more time that they are out making connections, learning how to work within a team, structure, discipline, all of those things that sports still can give, even if you're not playing on the travel team for $10,000 a year, and that's probably about what it is. Uh, there's still, I think there's just still a tremendous amount of value, and it is a shame, how many people are stopping to play sports, because either A, they're getting priced out, or B, what we were just talking about, where it's just not fun anymore because their parents, haven't made it fun. And, it's also one of those things that I try to say to parents. It's like, if you let your kid eat what they want, it's probably chicken nuggets and ice cream. But that's really not what your kids should do all the time, is eat chicken nuggets and ice cream. Like, we've got to come in there, we've got to make good decisions. When a kid's young, and make sure they are in, multiple sports and doing a lot of different things, and that you're not letting them just eat ice cream, all the time, because all of the exercise science says this is a bad idea. The repetitive movements of the same sport is going to make you more prone to injury. When you put a sport down and you pick it back up, you're going to hear things differently. You're going to learn differently. You're going to make adjustments better. One thing that you do in one sport is going to help you in the other. So it's just so important before they're 13 or 14 not to specialize and not to fall into that trap. Because realize the person that's probably telling you that trap is making a paycheck on your heartstrings. And I remember, specifically about Chase, I'll tell this story. Is like, they're like, he has to play year-round basketball, or he's going to lose his spot on this very prestigious AAU team. And I was like, well, he plays baseball in the summer. I mean, he just does. He plays baseball in the summer, and when he can get to basketball, he certainly would. And they were like, no. What was weird, Rhett, is right after I wrote the check for summer basketball, then it didn't matter if he was there or not. My check was there. And so that's really what they cared about. Do you know what I'm saying? And then Chase
Yeah.
could be there whenever he could make it. And shocking, didn't lose his spot in the fall whatsoever. Realize that when somebody's telling you that this is what you need to do, realize that, probably not. And also, this idea that you're like, what, making a financial investment for a scholarship? The number of scholarships isn't changing. In fact, it's actually going down as these collegiate programs are shrinking. And so, if you think you're going to get some kind of return on your investment, it's just probably not going to happen. And I always remind people there's 200 academic scholarships for every one athletic scholarship. So, if you want to put your eggs in a basket, that one is probably
Oh,
the smart one for an investment.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And coaching 11U, quote unquote travel baseball, we're full little league team. The best players, and I'm not taking anything away from these kids, are the biggest kids. They're monsters. And sometimes maybe it equates and they continue to be the biggest kid.
Yep.
Sometimes it doesn't. Their parents should be enjoying the successes they have when they're 11, not going, man, I need to go to, Georgia for this because it's an investment because
But
guess
if it's
what?
a fun trip, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Like, yes, you know what I'm saying? Like, if this is about if we're making memories and this is what we're gonna do, like that's great. But chasing this idea of like my kid's gonna make it to the majors or he's going to be, an NBA basketball player are just so far fetched. And I want to shake these parents like, are you crazy? And I want to take them down to spring training. And you're looking at the Mariners here. Go to the backfields, okay? Because here there are hundreds of people from all over the world, and they're never going to sniff the major leagues. And they are the best of the best to ever do this. And they're never going to get a cup of coffee in the majors. And then it's like, in my job, we throughout the major league season, there's overlap between like the NFL and the NBA, and we stay at the same hotels a lot of times. And like NFL players, like you can get in an elevator with them, and you're like, okay, except the lineman, you're like, dear Lord,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? There's like three of us. I think we hit the limit, you know what I'm saying, on weight, like no more people in the elevator. But the NBA, when you're in an elevator with NBA players, it's like I always say, have you ever like you're looking at a dog and it's like it's a Great Dane. You're like, is that a dog or is that a horse? I mean, it's just so wow. That's a specimen. That's what NBA players are. They are incredible athletes. And your kid's a poodle. Okay? It's not a Great Dane. It's a smart dog. It's a great
Mhm.
dog, but it's not a Great Dane, and you're never going to make your kid or your poodle into a Great Dane. And so I just kind of like think to them like you said, genetics. Like you're 5'9", buddy. Your wife's 5'4". What on earth do you like? What part
Yeah.
of when you watch a college or like or a professional NBA team, like where do you see your kid? Where do you see the kid with your genetics on that court? Like they're just not there.
They're not
So
there. And,
it's
and
tough.
it doesn't mean that you can't let them have dreams. That's not what we're saying.
100%. Yes. Yes.
It, it, it,
Enjoy
it
it.
Thank you.
Enjoy them playing as long as they can and encourage them to play. And if at some point they get to an AAU standpoint where they're not going to be good, go put them in rec basketball and let them continue to play. Like, it just, there is like, enjoy the memories and being with the team and let them have fun. I mean, like, I think that's like what the whole craze with pickleball. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
anybody can play the sport. Like, and that's what makes it great is just getting out there and competing and winning and losing and having fun with friends.
Yeah.
Competition is fun. Competing is fun. And
Mhm.
people ask me about, I even say I miss losing. I miss losing not because I wanted to lose, but because losing made winning so much better. I mean, there's nothing like it. In fact, actually, one of Chase's baseball coaches said something, and it was really, astute. One of the assistants, he said, you know, once you stop playing baseball, like, you hit that double today and drove in two. As long as I coach, I'll never have that feeling again. Like there is nothing like that feeling when you play. So like enjoy this because once you stop playing, like, you can go coach and it's fun and you love to see the successes and everything from all these kids, but it's never the same. It's never the same as playing. And so no matter what level they compete at, let them have those successes, let them have those wins in life, and let them have that fun.
And absolutely, the interesting part that I'm finding as a parent is, man, you hit that double and you have control over that at bat. And sometimes when you watch your kids, you're like, man, I have zero control over what's happening. And for whatever reason, it hits you like, gosh, I wish you would have done this. And I've come to the conclusion, it's an okay feeling to have because you want your kids to have success.
Yeah.
But it's such a different feeling of like, even if I struck out, let's just say, I struck out. Okay, God, the guy fooled me, whatever. Man, when your kid strikes out, you're like, dang it.
Yes.
Like it's a worse feeling to watch your kid strike out than when you did it.
Oh, for sure it is. For sure it is. Like the total lack of control, like you said, is just maddening. And with Jackson, he's a catcher, and it's like I feel like I'm living through every pitch. It's like, did he get that? Did he not get that? Was he able to, steal that strike? And it's just like I'm pitted out. I'm exhausted after games. You know what I mean? In fact, actually, the worst sport when my kids were in it was wrestling. Holy cow! When my kids wrestled, both of them wrestled, and it's like I'm like I don't know how to cheer for them. You're like good, like trip him, armbar, peel his fingers. Like I'm screaming at him to like beat up a kid. I'm like, what am I doing? Like it's just and just watching your kid on the mat, it's so hard. It is so hard to watch. But all of these things, it's why? Because we love them and we want to see them succeed. And it is gut wrenching as a parent. But know that.
But I do think, and I'm going to give Jax a lot of credit here because you just said something. Jax played for me a little bit. I've had him see a lot of success, and then he's gone through so many injuries and still kept a positive attitude. And my daughter broke her foot in August. So it's the first major injury that we've had. And you're sitting there as a parent going, well, number one, they're driving you crazy because they can't do anything. You're just like, okay, when is this going to be over for my sanity? Because she's driving me insane at the house. But you're also like, man, it is killing me to watch my child not do something they love. It's killing. It probably killed me more than her. So I'd love to just talk about it because you don't need to go through his injury history if you don't want to.
It was four surgeries in 1 year. Yeah, 4 surgeries in 1 year. Like he was at area code. With I don't know how many major league scouts behind him. They had already chatted with him. They were like, I love this, I love that. College coaches, and it was like the 5th bullpen because they bring in catcher after catcher, bring it to face these pitchers. And they're throwing hard. They're trying to hit the gun. They're trying to hit crazy numbers on the gun because it doesn't matter like where it goes. They just want to hit a number on the gun. And you don't know these guys. So he throws a slider and uncorks it, and Jackson tries to get over and slide, and his thumb pokes out, and instantly dislocated, broken in 2 places, just everything that right there in front of his eyes, just sort of like, crash and burn. And then, his senior year works his way back. He is better than he's ever been. He's awesome. And his first game of his senior year, I think he homered, lined out, tripled into left center, slid into third, dislocated his shoulder. And I'm just like, after working all the way back. So he's had, like a tough road. And then, he goes to and then, you get this terrible thing. It's like you just saw your kid work their whole way back, and just as soon as they get back, to have another injury, and then just knowing sort of what that process is like, and have the game taken away from you, and realize that, you are not going to be playing it again, and, all was for naught, almost, that feeling. And so, it is hard as a parent to, kind of take your kids through that and keep them positive and try to figure out, like, what are the things they can do. And, that's what we kind of said to Jackson. We said it over and over again. It's like, this is going to be part of your story. When you're done, this is,
Yep.
you're going to talk about that one time, and then this happened, and then you worked your way back, and this happened, and then you were tested again. You were thinking, what, do I want to play this game? Is it worth it to me? And absolutely it was. And then you came back, and every single time, Jackson, you come back better and stronger than you ever were before. And so, it's hard when that happens, man. Like, your heart breaks, and, like, we're like brave faces in front of Jackson, and then in the background, the husband and I are just pulling our hairs out, and like, I can't believe this, and what are we gonna do? And your heart breaks for him, and all those things are, happen, and they're real. And, but we kind of just like put together a plan of, like, how do we keep him, motivated as long as he wants it, and realize, that this is part of the process. And every great player's like, I don't care who, anybody that he can point to and thinks like, that's what I want to achieve, has gone through, these injuries, and you hear about their stories and how they had to come back, and whether it's Tommy John, or whether it's, a broken this or that. If you play this game long enough, you're going to have to go through those things. And I think that, learning those life lessons, will help you in so many other ways. Is like, when you feel those feelings, you have that ability to cope and realize this is temporary, and this stinks, and I'm going to get through it. So, those are all like lessons that he certainly has learned, from the injuries that he's had to go through. And I think it's helped him in a lot of different ways in life, and not just in baseball. But, glad that they've also helped him in baseball.
And that's, you're 100% right. It is life lessons. And, we were playing University of Washington, actually, when I was at Lewis Clark State. Collision in the outfield. I was coming back from an oblique and a hamstring, junior year, been drafted twice as a hitter. I can't run. But I'm 21. We're getting ready to play in the NAR World Series. They're popping my hips back into place, pubic bones out of, like, I mean, just nasty stuff, and in the games. And I'm playing in the World Series. And I couldn't run. I never ran the same. And then, I pitched in indie ball a little bit, and, did that, and had a spring training invite. But I have no regrets. And I think Jax is going to be the same way, because, man, it just wasn't meant to be for me. And it's so, and I know plenty of people that don't feel the way that I feel, but to all those people and parents, it is what it is. I am a better person and have different thoughts on things because those things happened,
Yep.
and that's okay. It is okay. And, as a pride thing, because me and Jarrett can talk about our careers. You and Kelsey, you don't need to, we will. But, like, I hit and pitched at a high level, and there's not a lot of people that can say that. And so for me, I'm like, I'm really proud of that. Did I have the success I want? Don't look my stats up, because no, but I really have great memories. I do, and
Yep.
experiences. And as much as I joke about the performance and, what I did, like, that's what it's about. And I have
Yep.
amazing relationships, because that injury took me to this path, to this path, to this path, to this path, to what we're doing today. And I think we look 5 yards down the field sometimes instead of 40, because it's just easier to do that.
Mhm.
Live in the moment, but it's okay to project how something a negative right now might end up being a positive. It really is. And we told my daughter, you're going to get hurt again. If this is
Mhm.
what you want to do and play sports, you will get hurt again. And, man, I'll tell you what, she's doing the PT without asking her. She's like, I'm coming back. And my wife and I are like, whew, okay. Like, super proud moment as a parent.
No, because they do. They have to learn that. And I just think that again, the messaging for you as a parent in those situations, it can't be, oh, this is terrible. Like my thing that the kids will even like echo to me now, and here we are. Like I don't care what has happened. You know what I'm saying? Here we are. So what are we gonna do from here? I'm always saying that. Like Jarrett's a little bit more like he looks back like, oh, this was bad or this, and I'm like, here we are.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do from here? And I feel that way, like, in financial situations. I feel that way in sports. I feel that way in careers. Like I feel that way. It's like here we are. I don't care what we thought was going to happen. This is what has happened. This is where we are. So let's make the best decisions that we can from this on. But I think the positive messages that your kids need to hear over and over and over again, and we say it's like we ask them, do you think that mommy would love you more if you were 3 for 3 versus 0 for 3? And like, of course I wouldn't. Like, stop. It doesn't matter. This is sports. You know what I'm saying? They're supposed to be fun. And so, you either win or you get better. There is no losing. It's like, if we want to talk about, your at bats or things like that, it's like we can say, you know what? Probably that first pitch was the best pitch you got in that at bat, but you really weren't ready when you stepped into the box. So the lesson is, don't step in the box unless you're really ready to hit. And it's so funny because we have a cage here at the house and I throw batting practice. Jackson was just home for Christmas and he just went back and I threw him, BP every single day and fed him balls through the machine to, work on his catching. But there will be times where like I do at bats too. I was like, all right, 0-0 count, and then, or 1-0 count, we play live at bats, live innings. And I'll throw to him and I'll just be like, why did you step into the box? Because you weren't ready to hit. He's like, I know. Like, I'm just like, don't do it. That's not a habit that you should make. You know what I'm saying? And don't ever do that. Don't ever. And I'd rather you not take the swing. You know what I mean? Because you weren't like, fully there. But anyway, it's just kind of funny the things that we see with our kids. But I went on a complete tangent. My point is that 0 for 3, 3 for 3, mom and dad aren't going to love you more. And the messaging, just continuing to be supportive of your kids. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes because again, we go up and down with their failures even more than they do.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? There's one thing I want to talk about as we, kind of wrap this up, and you might have an opinion, you might not, because your kids are really in, the age that I'm trying to figure out, not being a social media expert by any stretch of the imagination. How do you think your sons have dealt, and you too, because you have a unique perspective with your job and stuff, with the social media part? Because everyone wants to tell me I got to get the video up. And I'm like, okay, but does it matter? I can't for sure say yes or no, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard. Because I always told my kids, if you're great, you don't need to tell everybody you're great. They'll be telling you and everybody will notice. And I think that, they were noticed. Unfortunately, like I said, Jackson went through a couple injuries back to back, but, he's right back at, Sac City and hitting great and has a ton of interest in teams calling his coach. So he'll get to where he was. The journey's going to be a little bit different because of injuries, and that just happens. But the tough thing is right now, Rhett, is as things stand now in this day and age with the transfer portal and everything else, it's like, I mean, I know coaches, college coaches, it's like July and August and they still have 11 roster spots open. You know what I'm saying? Because they're waiting and they don't have to pick right anymore. They don't have to choose right. And I think the focus more like on the baseball side is like pitching. But as far as like the position players, they're going to pick those up. I don't want to say off the scrap heap, but they're going to like see who pans out at the last moment because they know they're going to have their pick of the litter. And in some ways it's good because the cream rises to the top. In some ways it's bad because these coaches I think have gotten, I don't want to say lazy, but it's like, you used to have to, if you recruited a kid and you signed him, you had to hang with him for 4 years. That was just the way it was. And now if that kid comes in and you realize this guy never really developed after a sophomore year when, we committed to him, that we're just going to tell you get in the transfer portal because you're never going to play here and your scholarship is going to be here because we're going to give it to somebody else. It's just a different landscape. And so you're seeing a lot more juniors and seniors playing and not as many freshmen and sophomore, because, it's like you can go to a school, 4-year school, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit behind this guy for a year or two, and then it's going to be my time. And then all of a sudden, somebody who hit 20 bombs, you know what I mean, at the next school over who wants to be at your school transfers in, and they're like, yeah, we're going to go with him because we think you could hit 20 bombs, but this guy did it. So, it's a really tough, tough time right now. So I can't suggest how to do it. What we've decided with our kids is, you want to do? You want to go play because you love baseball and you want to go play. And so for us, the junior college route was a great one. There's so many great baseball programs, and especially with baseball, JUCO is like the talent is so good there because you have a mix. You have like people that maybe didn't get to the 4-year, and then you have people that want to get drafted, you know what I mean, before their junior year, and they are, just want one more year to, or a sophomore year, or they're really good at baseball and they're dumb as rocks. So like you have a whole mix of like really good, talented people that are in those JUCOs, for all different reasons. And that's why so many, colleges are going there, and they don't have to guess right. They could just go there and they can go, hey, come over here once you get 50 games underneath your belt.
It does make me sad. It's probably not the right word, but there's levels for what you're talking about. If you are in, at a big time baseball school that's going to compete for a national championship at the Division I level, it's going to be cutthroat. And by the way, a lot of those guys are getting paid. So I don't really feel bad for those kids as much.
Yep.
Man, there's some places that are doing some of the things you just said. It's like, dude, you're a 500 Division II NAI school. What are you, dude?
What are you doing?
And I want to look at those coaches and be like, why are you coaching? You're supposed to be making men.
Developing. You're supposed to be developing them. Do you know what I mean? You're supposed to take them and develop them. Maybe you're not very good at this. If you were so keen on recruiting this guy and, or did you just believe the hype in the video and you really never got your eyes on him and you never really passed the eye test, So yeah, what's happening in a lot of ways in those places is really kind of disappointing and ugly. And there's not a whole lot of loyalty right now. And it's disappointing.
There are a lot of really good people still in it, though. I do want to give that positive note. There really is. And there's a lot of people that do want to help people that are sticking with it, even though it's hard for some of those people right now. But before we wrap this up, give me your biggest takeaway for a coach or a player or a parent listening to this from your perspective and your background and you as a parent.
I would just say, do what you love. And I love this sport so much. I'm still in it in a different, version all these many years later. But I think that sports can teach so many great lessons, and it doesn't necessarily need to be at the highest level, the highest D1 level that's competing for a World Series. You can still have all those memories and learn so many different life lessons, no matter what level you play in. And then my parting message is to the parents is, as I said to you, probably a dozen times throughout this conversation, is just to enjoy it. Because I have now, this college kid and this other one, Chase, is playing his senior year at Mount Si, and it's just like, it's almost over. You know what I mean? Like empty nest, like I know. And it's like I remember when they turned 9 and I was like, whoa, that's the halfway point. What? I blinked and you're 9 and I'm going to blink again and you're going to be gone. And they are. And so just don't get caught up in the politics and the this and the that. It's so hard, and I know that. But try to realize that the cream is going to rise to the top. And I can look back at like the All-Star year at 12, and those parents that were snow plowing for their kids and were coaching the All-Star team just so their kid who had a $117 per their stats played on the team. He's not playing high school baseball. They wash out. They had their best time, and your kid continued on. You know what I'm saying? So as frustrating it is to sometimes see that stuff happen around us, like, don't get caught up in it. Enjoy watching your kids. Love them. If things don't go well, go get them a Dairy Queen Blizzard and just enjoy this, because the time is so short. So guess what? Even if they played Major League Baseball, they're going to be done at 30. They're not even going to be, nobody plays till 30. I mean, like 32 is like crazy. And so I don't care how, even if they played forever in the highest levels, it's still short. It is still short. And, they're going to live 50, 60 more years after that and never play this game again. And so enjoy it.
I tell people all the time, you have relationships and experiences is what you take from the game. Well, it doesn't matter the sport. Relationships, very few people. I know a couple, and I've done coach long time, who actually have money in their bank account when they are done playing. And I even know a couple guys that I coached a long time ago, played in the big leagues. They have other jobs. One guy's
for sure
doing real estate out in Nebraska. He played in the big leagues for years. He's not set for life. He has to go make other money. So relationships and experiences and, injuries, like we talked about, can shape those. Coaches, what decisions you make, they all shape
how you treat people, all those things. All of those things, so important and good to take away.
100%. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sitting here on these calls and I'm still learning stuff, listening to other people. It's helpful for me. I'm hoping it helps a lot of people.
Well, so I'm very thankful you're doing it, because I think it is. And I think a lot of people, are going to benefit from your knowledge. So thanks for doing it.
I really appreciate it. And, you're almost out of surviving youth sports. I'm right in the middle of trying to survive youth sports. So I really appreciate it. And we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks. Thanks for joining us on Surviving Youth Sports. Remember, the scoreboard may tell a different story, but the snacks, the car rides, and the questionable coaching decisions, that's where the real memories and the real survival skills come from. Please share, subscribe, and follow us.